What up, thou brethren? It's time for teams. It's Friday, which means we've got a Sunday game. And as usual, I'm joined by the lovely, effervescent co-host that is Legdog. How are you going?
I'm very, very well, Daniel. How are you? Very exciting, huge game. I don't really want to talk about last week at all in today's show.
Last week didn't happen in Uncle Pom's mind. It was just it's a clean slate. It's a clean slate. It's round one all again. And we've got the lovely Rio in chat. G'day to you. We've got the lovely Charlotte. Hopefully my Friday gets better by being told Paddy Dow is playing on Sunday. We've got the hat just in case. The Vosspiracy hat.
Obviously, that doesn't just have to apply to Dow. We could use that for all sorts of things.
Well, I mean, last week I could have used it for multitude reasons, couldn't I? JSOS not being in. Obviously, it's kind of killed one of the Vosspiracies. Plowman obviously won't play this week. Thoughts in chat on Plowman being dropped? And Legdog, your thoughts on it?
I mean, it makes sense, right? Obviously, big defender of him for what he does, but had a bad game. And as we've discussed on this show a lot of times, was not in the initial 22 at the start of this season. They're getting closer to that 22 that they want to run, and they bring Marchbank in to see how he can work with Gov, Young, and Wiedering. And it ends up being a pretty tall. We've got a pretty tall front and back half, actually, when you look at our best lineup.
You do, and it's interesting because we've got Marchie back, and we all love Marchie, don't we? Marchie's one of the guys, isn't he? He's one of the boys that Carlton fans just really love. And just as we've talked about that, teams have officially been launched. And unfortunately, Pitternet is a managed. So if you look at your beautiful screens now, it should pop up. Helps if Pom's on the right freaking thing, doesn't it? Hey, I tell you what, this is Pom's been doing that many live streams this week that his quickness isn't there. But this is the team for Carlton. You've got Sardi, Young, Doherty, McGovern, Wiedering, Marchbank, Noons, Cripps, Setterfield, Owies, Mackay, Fisher, Motlop, Kerno, Martin, TDK, Walsh, Chera, Silvani. He's there. The boy wonder. Dow is in. Cotters and O'Brien, which means that Durden, Plowman, Pitternet, Kennedy, and Newman are managed. Sarcevic and Rich are the only ins for the Lions. Cockatoo, Mitch Robinson, and Darcy Fort are omitted out of the team that faced last week. So that's that then, really.
You say Starcevic and Rich are the only ins. They're pretty bloody good ins for the Lions, to be honest. That's a pretty healthy backline they got there with Kadeen Coleman as well. So Pitto, let's talk about it because I'm not a doctor. He didn't look like he was 100% last week. Maybe that's an excuse for him. I'm not sure, but he certainly didn't look like he was as fit as he probably should have been to play. I'm not totally surprised. I thought they would drop one of the two, and if Pitto's getting managed, it suggests to me that he is not match fit, Pom.
I think you've only got to watch last week. It was something that I covered in the review on the watch along. The guy looked at 6s and 7s, didn't he, to be honest? And that was my query. I understood what Voss was getting at with JSOS out, them being too tall, even though he'd won 3 games with the exact same lineup. And then I thought it was even more bizarre that he brought in JSOS as the sub, knowing that about 15 of his team was small. So the law of averages would state an injury would be to a small guy. And I just thought the risk didn't pay off because he did look shithouse. I mean, he got bodied by Tex Walker multiple times. And do you know what I mean? For a guy that's 202 centimeters and weighs as much as a small convertible, you would have thought that he'd be able to handle himself. So I kind of like that team. I actually like that team. I think that team looks pretty sexy on paper.
Yeah, look, I don't mind it. Jack Martin comes in. Hopefully he's fit. You know that he's a sort of all or nothing player. He's either going to kick 3 goals in a quarter or probably not do a hell of a lot. I'm interested to see how they use him this week, whether they ask him to play smaller or they ask him to play that marking role when JSOS isn't forward. It's going to be interesting. JSOS's role as well this week is probably a bit clearer with Pitto out. He's going to be the backup ruckman again, which we don't mind him being around the ball. So I like that a lot. Who else came into this side? Jack Nunes. You and I are always going to be happy when a Jack Nunes gets added to the team. A bit of a rotation on a wing, can go behind the ball, at times can go forward of the ball. We like that. And then that final addition, Paddy Wow himself, Mr. Dow, comes in to play in the midfield. The most interesting thing in this lineup for me, Pop, is that they've gone back to the round one Will Setterfield and Jack Nunes on the wings with Lockie O'Brien on the interchange. So we've essentially, over the course of a season, done a full 360 and come back to where we were round one.
Mate, I think the first 3 rounds particularly showed you what Carlton are looking for. I suspect that Nunes is going to play. Obviously, when you've got that taller back half, you're going to have to find some transition. And we know that when you watch the VFL, you notice that the wingers really actively, and I do know from a few people when O'Brien was dropped, that was what they were working on, wanted him to make himself available. It absolutely destroyed itself last week because both wingers didn't get involved. So it's interesting. He's played he played 5 small forwards the other week. He's now gone wing heavy. I suspect you see a different role. Do you know what I mean?
It has to be.
I think you're going to see Dow though. He's bided his time. And I think that it kind of ends the Voss conspiracy with Paddy Dow. I think it ends the conspiracy that he's not in because Voss hates him. I think that shows you that he has given him a chance. And really now, if you've got to be honest, and I know Mars will agree with this, if you're going to be honest with Paddy Dow, he's got the best opportunity probably ever. With Hewitt not being out, you'd imagine them kind of injuries Kennedy's got could be a week with that concussion. He looked pretty banged up the last couple of weeks as well. This is a golden opportunity for him to really cement his place in 2 games coming up now. And I want to caveat this, and I'd love your thoughts on this, and I'd love the chat's thoughts. These next 2 games, I think, are incredibly important in the terms of you don't want to be 0-2 going up against Collingwood. I think people are playing this the wrong way and thinking 1 more win, just got to get to Pies. Because looking at the way the ladder goes and looking at even worst case or best case scenario, Pies are still going to be in a chance of a top 4 final come round 23. Carlton are 0-2. Suddenly that's 3 in a bounty you've lost. Suddenly that's huge. And I agree here with what Mars is saying. The aim has got to be in this group of guys, why can't we go 3-0? And putting last week down to just a lesson learned. It was a shit day at the office. And that is interesting. The club has kind of alluded that it was just a bad day at the office. I think if they lose this game, I think it could be huge dramas. I'll tell you now, people are saying, Melbourne, you've got a chance. Have you?
Yeah.
Because they want the double chance as well. So suddenly, I think this is the easiest of the 3.
I'm with you. In my ladder predictor, I have us winning this one. I think this is the vital one. This is the one that sets you up. This is the one that gives you the opportunity to sort of make your own fate. We need to win 2 to guarantee it. We need to win 1 to make it likely. And I don't want to, and particularly, how do I word this, Pom? The mental fragility from the outside looking in of this side, I would not want to be having lost 3 in a row going into a must-win round 23 against Collingwood in front of 100,000 people at the MCG. That's not a recipe for success in my eyes with the group the way they are currently structured. So for mine, I'm in agreement with you that this to me is the game. I know that Brisbane are very good at the Gabba and they're a strong side. They shut the bed last week. this is the one for me that we just have to win. It's this week. This is what I'm pinning the season on, and whether that's the right attitude or not, I don't know. But that's where it sits in my eyes.
Mate, I'm with you, and I think a lot of the chat asking about Neil. Let's talk a bit about Brisbane. Brisbane's huge strength is around clearance and stoppage. They are supreme at it. The highest scoring side of the comp, one of the lowest disposals as well. They play a fast, direct brand. They love to hit you over the back. They're a very, very, very one-tempoed side in the terms of quick. And they hurry you, which is very interesting. They're a hurrying side. They like to put pressure on. They like to get you to give them the ball back as quickly as possible. And they're also exceptionally good at being able to lose the ball, but also be in a wonderful position because of how direct they move the ball. This is going to be a real myriad of styles because Carlton are really the antichrist of what Brisbane do. Carlton like to control the footy. They like to have a bit of time. They like to mosey their opposition into certain hot zones. They're not really set up in a big line to defend the ground. They like to do things their own way. And you've seen the last 3 or 4 weeks, Carlton haven't been able to dictate their game style. It's not a dictation. You know that with Carlton that although it's perceived as slow, they like to move the ball quickly when they get the chance to. And they spend a lot of time playing with the ball to open them avenues up. I think this is a really interesting one because people asking about Neil. I don't think Neil is a huge problem in this game, really. I don't think he's the biggest problem. I think the biggest problem when I look at this and the biggest area of concern for Carlton is the forward pressure. And Manny here, he's an expert on Brisbane, is me mate Manny. I know he hates them as much as I do. Their ability to count, a lot of their goals come from their ability to play very long, very quickly in overlap lines. And that is probably Carlton's hemorrhage. The forward line here has got to be on. The forwards line's got to be on because their ability to really flood the areas down the back and then hit you over the top. And we were shithouse against Adelaide. But Adelaide, honestly, the space we gave them in behind for them to intersect. There's a great little scene. If you go and watch the 4th, watch Brodie Smith. He runs from inside D50 and he meets the first Carlton player at the centre bound circle. So at the halfway line is the first time he has a fucking look at a Carlton shirt. You do that with Brisbane, you may as well not get on the plane and just sit at home.
Yeah, look, I know whoever that was in the comments that called out Daniel Rich and Kadeen Coleman. There's a reason they're 2 of my favourite players in the AFL, and it's because they're very good. Teams have had really good success against Brisbane when they've tagged or had a forward tag on Daniel Rich and prevented him from being able to generate those metres gained. You need to give him attention. And one thing that we've always done so badly when we play against Brisbane is we always allow Daniel Rich to sneak around and kick a goal from outside 50. Without fail every time we play them. So we need to watch him. He's clever. We can't switch off. If we switch off against these guys, Rich, Kadeen Coleman, even Starcevic, who's more of a negator than a generator, if we switch off for a second, they're going to punish us. And I'm with you that Lachie Neely's very good at what he does, but he's not where my attention would go. My attention would be going to a Hugh McCluggage. He's in really good form. He can hit the scoreboard, plays a little bit more outside. He takes a lot of relieving marks. He's one that I'd be more worried about than Neil because Neil's going to get the ball no matter what, and he's going to find teammates and go short with it a lot of the time. I'd be trying to stop the more damaging players, the players that I perceive as more damaging, like a McCluggage or even a Bailey, who can be pretty dangerous in front of goal when he rotates forward. So they are a dangerous team, this team. And it's interesting that while Plowman has been omitted, normally he would go to Charlie Cameron and do the job on him. How do we talked about their back line and putting pressure on them. How do we combat this forward line, which is pretty dangerous?
Yeah, just quickly on this one here. This here, very good start here from Sammy. Got to also take into account, though, that Brisbane's game style is purely based around their strength around stoppage and centre clearances. So genuinely, a clearance side is a side that is on top in game. Very few games are lost when teams lead clearances in modern day football. You'll see that percentage will be in its high 80s too. And also, for Rich to have a lot of disposals can also mean that he's got absolutely battered. See Sam Doherty. Do you know what I mean? When Carlton get battered and hemorrhaged inside 50, high disposal numbers. He also gets high disposal numbers in offense. So for Daniel Rich there, that's a negator. So what I like to call a lazy, misleading that one. It looks impressive, but there's ways around it. To answer your question with their small forwards, it's the source. Small forwards always kick goals, and you saw how how Adelaide did it with Ben Keys, a pretend forward. Quick balls kill you. Quick balls kill you, absolutely destroy you, and that's where small forwards feed into their craft. Ben Keys, I don't think he actually knew a Carlton player existed in that for a period in that game. Yeah. Do you know what I mean? And that is really making it hard. You see, and this is great here, what Rio says. We were number 1 stoppage and clearance side in round 1. That was a huge start. Also, between round 10 and 16, number 1 transition side. You've really seen a real shift from Carlton's focus there, and I'm not too sure why. What scares me with that is what Carlton have got to do is go back to basics, and that is really putting heavy intent in the final third in the ground. That's where I think when you go back and I was doing this the other day, watching Carlton's first 3 games to the last 3 games. There is a noticeable change in how Durden and Owies, Fisher, how the wings keep their width, but also how the spread happens from the midfield. And we're starting to get into that horrible area again, where you look at our inside 50 counts, we're getting mids at the top of that table, where before it was you could look, if you were an idiot and never watched football, you could tell me who small forwards were by looking at them tackle inside 50 numbers because Carlton were doing it. And you're starting to see Chera pop up there. You're starting to see Cripps pop up there the last couple of weeks. And they were the next line of defense when Carlton were playing exceptional football. Now you're starting to see us go into, I wouldn't say lazy habits. I'd say what they're doing is buying time for themselves. They're reacting to not being able to dictate their game plan. And this is what happens at round 18, round 19, round 20. Teams understand the premise of your work. Carlton need to really go back to that. And I want to highlight, and I want to talk to you about this. I'd love the fans chat. I've seen a lot of comments this week, which I verge on distasteful about Jack Martin. People saying, oh, Jack Martin was dog shit. Jack Martin was rubbish. In the VFL, small forward, high half forwards have the same game in VFL, whether they're in AFL or not. It's almost like a wing position nowadays that it's relying on what the opposition do, on what their team do and their ball movement. But if Jack Martin had that game in the seniors, that's probably a good sign. And look at Jesse Motlop. People were saying Jesse Motlop's dog shit. He's actually improved because the AFL suits him a little bit more. I think Jack Martin is going to have a huge job. Him and Jesus, high half forward this week, has to happen with that rotation with Cottrell when Jesus goes on the ruck. And they have to make that. I need to see them leads high. Them marks on the lead high. They need to get it closer because you're starting to see Carlton bomb it in very quickly. You saw this 25 of our entries last week. Hit and hopes. No one was in the forward line. Charlie Curnow crumbing for Harry. They need to get that extra kick, 260, 65, so they can get it deeper. Because when Carlton are playing well, that ball comes in at the goal square. At the moment, it's too early and it's killing themselves.
Yeah, and we spoke about it last week that it's all well and good when it's Harry going up and taking that 65-metre mark. But who's he kicking it to? We want Jesus, we want Jack Martin to be the ones delivering it inside 50 to him. They're pretty good at doing that. They're pretty good at finding targets inside 50. And on the Martin point, I think there's a misconception of how a player should perform when they do go to the VFL. In the past, if he was playing VFL, we would have just gone, play in the midfield, get 35 touches. But they're not asking. They're asking to play their role. And as you said, it's a role that it's hard to be dominant in because it's a very reactive role.
Especially in the game.
Yeah, exactly. We need to shout out Yuga Koken here. Koken, apologies if I've absolutely brutalized that name, for the $31 donation. Thanks, guys, for a great show. Thank you for a great donation.
Sorry, mate. I was poor. I did not see that come through on my screen. I was deep in transient thought. Rio, this is a good question here. What are your thoughts on changing the game plan mid-season to play slow footy? Played our best, fast and quick. I think it's pure. I think it's a misconception because you see Carlton when they play well, it is quick. What Carlton are struggling to do is create that opportunity. Either that's bravery. I think that's partly down to having the testicles, the cojones to do it. I also think it's lack of opportunity. Teams now, this patch of games, these last 4, I was always worried about it in one area. And that area was all 4 teams like to flood the contest from the Geelong game. That's how they play. They play extras in them contests. And it's interesting that Carlton haven't attacked it. And this is where Paddy Dow, he only knows one way. That's direct, run. That is where he may be a blessing in disguise for Voss. And I know Voss hasn't rated it, but he's going to have to change it up. Carlton have lost, I think, 2 of their biggest assets this year, Kennedy and Hewitt, to play that system. Now they're gone. And we know what happens when Cripps does it all himself. Gets battered. Gets battered. Right? And it's tough for him. Now someone's got to do it. And I would love to see from first bounce, Hewitt's role is taken by Paddy Dow. And it's Cherrett and Walsh are going to work in and around them. But Dow and him are going to get the ball. And if it's not there, the opportunity is not there, Dow is given license to play to his strengths. Go, go, go. And that is what I'm excited about. I'm hoping we've seen what Fisher's done. When he goes in there, he offers something different. Now we're going to see 90% of this game of 2 midfielders who are different to what we've seen.
Yeah, it's actually exciting. Dow's almost the opposite to George Hewitt in how he tackles the contest, in terms of Hewitt is a loop out the back, look around, try and find someone, wheel around. And as you said, Dow just turns and goes. So hey, maybe it'll be the secret sauce and exactly what we need to win this one. It's really exciting to watch. A couple of things we should shout out as well, Pom. Adam Sard plays game 150 this week. And Caleb Marchbank comes in to play game 50, and it feels like we've been waiting for him to play game 50 for a very, very long time. But congratulations to both of those players, and hopefully we can get a big W for the Milestone boys.
Mate, it's huge. And I do want to shout out Gerald Healy as well. I respect... Actually, I don't. I'm a complete fucking liar. Everything he does is...
liar.
I'm not even going to fucking lie to the chat. You're all family to me now. What a complete muppet state. Christian, you've got me on my bandwagon here. One of the most ridiculous. I've heard 2 ridiculous things this week, right? And it's all about Dow, God bless him. And I'm just excited about seeing Dow 3 games in, worked hard all year. Fucking big opportunity for the young fella. And Carlton fans are behind him in the majority. To tag him, I couldn't think of a less. I would say, if you said to me, Pom, you've got an option, Dow tags Neil, or Wheatering tags Neil and Dow will take Danaher, I'd take the Danaher option. And the second one is Kennedy and Hewitt are out. The most like-for-like midfielder in our team is Dow. I couldn't think of someone who is the more opposite of them two. Do you know what I mean? Apart from the fact they've all got dark hair, it's where the similarities stop, let's be honest. But talking for Dow, I don't think he needs to have a big game. I think what Dow needs to do, and I'm not saying he's like Dangerfield. I'm going to say this, though. To model his game on Dangerfield. And where Carlton lack, and I want you to go back to the start of this year. Carlton, especially the Richmond game, the Eagles and the Doggies game, and the Sydney game, where Carlton were dangerous was when they did win out of centre clearance and got it going forward quickly.
Yeah.
At length. Not this fannying about, When there was an opportunity, it was direct and it was precision. Cherrett did this a lot against Richmond. Hewitt did it a lot against Sydney and the Doggies. Really got the ball and was like, right, where am I going? Bang. Hit someone up at half forward running. That is Dow's number 1 strength. So from watching every minute of the VFL this week, what Dow does, when in doubt, he lays it to half forward. Lays it to high half forward. And that is something our midfielders are refusing to do. Dow's biggest asset for this game is that. Ball, see it, if there isn't a fucking option, just get it forward and put the pressure on the smalls, on Owies, one of the leading tacklers in the comp this year. Put it there. Get it there early, because early entries only benefit Harry. And that is why you're seeing Harry struggle. Curnow, far better player at making something happen. When the ball is in early, he is the best. He is the best at it, Harry, in the league. If he can get a one out, he's the best. And that is what I'm wanting to see. What do you think about that? And what do you guys think about that?
Yeah, we've discussed it a lot, that we thought that the 6-6-6 setup suits us because it doesn't give the opposition team an opportunity, in theory, when you're on a roll, to get back and flood and stop guys like Harry Mackay, like Charlie Curnow. I agree, Charlie's a lot better at getting the ball on his own terms and sort of reads the play a little better when the ball hits hands or goes to ground. So you don't need to worry about him. But absolutely, when we're winning, it's because you remember all those early games in the season when we were getting like 10 goals up and people were chipping away at the lead. It's because we were on a roll and continually scoring basically directly from the center clearances. We need to go direct, and that's where our strength lies. Now, as you said, we've been not able to win in the middle at the source, and that's why you've seen us struggle. It's because the game plan is really based around getting it in quickly when it's working. And agree, I think Paddy Dow has an opportunity to impact that this week. I think Adam Cerra is primed if they can let him play, or if he's able to play his natural game. I think we'll see a lot of inside 50s from him, a lot of hitting up targets. He sort of reminds me, and this might be a good thing or a bad thing, people can let me know in the comments. He actually reminds me a lot of a Mark Murphy, a younger Mark Murphy, and that excites me, going inside 50. I know I'm bait. I know that's a bit of a bait. I know that's going to tease out some comments, Pom, but I like what I see with him. I like him going direct. Moving on quickly, Pom, we haven't discussed who the sub's going to be. Corey Durden is in the emergencies. He's been managed. It won't be him, I don't think. Mark Pitnet has been managed and is in the emergencies. I don't think it'll be him. So is it going to be Kemp or Will Hayes, who must have served his full suspension by now?
Well, there's no VFL, so it doesn't really matter, does it?
True.
But you'd say logic would say Will Hayes played all three lines at VFL this year, but it'll be Brodie Kemp.
Yes, it will. It will be Brodie Kemp. We've got 87 tolls in the team, so what's one more between friends? But yeah, I think you're right. I think it will be Brodie Kemp.
Do you know what I mean? I don't like it, but that would say to me it's one of them just in case, break glass, because I think we've gone with a thing. I do want to cover just two things really quickly. Michael, as we mentioned earlier in the show about Brisbane, exactly, and this is Brisbane know that, and this is the worst game for Carlton, and it's why I was kind of excited about this game, because it kind of went up in pressure. Geelong at the top of the tree of what they do around the contest. Then GWS and Adelaide play a very similar game style, but not as good. To perfect it for Brisbane was my aim. And I've got to say, sometimes clearing your lines relieve the pressure. I think the overhand ball in the middle of the park really fucks you under pressure, and you start to see they overuse it. But the thing I really wanted to cover is people have been asking, are we too tall? Do you know what I mean? Are we too tall? I want to put this out there. There's 2 centimetres between Marchbank, and according to Champs Data, I checked it today, they've both been measured this year. So there's 2 centimetres between them. Now, if you actually watch...
Who's that? Marchbank and Plowman, did you say?
Plowman, yeah.
Yeah.
There's 2 centimetres between them, which in reality is fuck all. Do you know what I mean? Not many people are going to complain about 2 centimetres different in length, unless, do you know what I mean? Unless you've got one of them. But what I've got to say is that you watch Marchbank, and I've watched him very closely in his last VFL game. He did pick up a few smalls, and he's very, very good on the ground. And people forget that about Marchbank. I think they get very insular because if you remember, David T goes, we're going to train him as a key defender in the mould of Stephen May. And we never saw him. He's very smart. And I was actually went back and watched the GWS game. We got battered.
Yeah.
It was actually impressive. There was a few ground balls there that he just plucked up. So I don't mind it. I think Marchbank, a lot more athletic, a lot more skilled than Plowman, a better user of the football. I kind of like I'm excited about seeing it because I think it's a very aggressive backline.
Yeah, I just don't think that I've noted that we have a tall team in this week, but I don't think that your height is going to determine whether you win or you lose. Our midfield is the same height essentially because it's most of the same players, and that's where we need to win the game, or at least start to win the game. The impact players in our side, as in your pressure impact players, are all still the same height they were last week, and they're all still in the team. So for me, the height of the team doesn't really dictate a win or loss. I understand it's an easy thing to point to and go, if you look slow and go, oh, look how slow they were, it's because they had tall players in. But I think for us, it's all about, as we've said several times tonight, winning it in the middle and being very direct with our ball use. And we will look very quick if our ball use is accurate and quick and decisive, which it hasn't been for a few weeks.
Mate, I'm with you. I think I think the height thing is a myth. Do you know what I mean? So it comes that time of the day where I ask you for something, the chat. You know I love talking to you guys and girls. Okay, how am I going to word it this week? Okay, here we are, because this is my big bugbear. And if Petra's watching, you'll love it. So, okay, Carlton predictions of the score, the margin, a win or loss, obviously. And my bugbear, because I've said this is what's going to win or loses it, predictions on tackles inside 50, number, total for team, and who leads it. Over to you guys and girls, and you let Doug.
Jeez, that's tough.
I tried.
We're on a Carlton show, so I can't tip against us. I will say this. I really want us to win this. In my footy tipping comp, I've tipped Brisbane. But for the guys and girls out there, I'm going to tip us by 3 points. It's going to be a very, very close one. What other questions did you ask, Pom?
Total of team inside 50 tackles from Carlton. And who leads it?
Who leads tackles inside 50s? I think our boy Matt Owies is going to bounce back again. I expect him to bounce back again and be solid. And our total tackles inside 50, I don't know. I like 12. I don't know if that's high or low, Pom. You'll have to tell me the stats. But I feel like if you get a couple out of all of your forwards, 6 forwards, 2 each on average, 12 is going to be a solid return. Ideally, we don't want, as you pointed out earlier in the show, our midfielders leading those stats, which they have been. So, yeah, I'll say 12.
Yeah, mate, 11 is where we are. We've got some real good ones here. We've got some good ones. Brisbane by 28, 7 tackles inside 50, Owies 3. I like this. This guy's creeping up them inside 50 tackle numbers as well. He's our second best tackler inside 50 on average. He's Deadly Motlop. Lions by 25, 10 inside 50 tackles, 5 by Motlop. Right, okay, here's mine. I'm going to say that Carlton are going to have 10 inside 50 tackles. Motlop will lead it with 3. And basing it on the prediction, I think we've covered it here. I think Carlton's midfield can be really strong around the contest. Go back to basics, look for them exit balls, look for them avenues, get some early leads. I think our forwards can definitely hurt their backline. I think if we get some good forward 50 pressure as well, I think their ability to transition will be affected. All that being said, we've got a better forward line as well, haven't we? Harry and Mackay, 2 of the best in the league. So that's going to be an issue for them. So when you put all that together...
We said that last week as well.
No. When you put all that together, I think it's a 50-50 matchup on paper. So Lions by 32. And on that note, I'll see you. I'm going with negative. I'm going with opposite ends. You know what I mean? I guaranteed the win last week. I was Vermeeren. I don't want to do it again. So what I'll do is I love you all. Thank you very much for joining, chat. Can't wait till this game. I'm looking forward to it. A real chance to respond for the boys. So if you're not going down to Brisbane, please come and see me on the watch along. We'll have a good laugh. And win, lose or draw, we'll have some sing-songs. you know what I mean? And we'll enjoy it. Can't wait for it. Check Let Dog out. He's got all the fantastic coverage on the legendary super coach Jock Reynolds, isn't it? Podcast?
JockReynolds.com.au or at LakeDog on Twitter, and I'm around.
And he always has some good takes as well. He's a good boy. He's a good lad. He's Let Dog. See you tomorrow. I'm going to see you on Sunday on the watch along. Stay safe. Stay tidy. Go Blues.
Go Blues.